Hello, everybody, and welcome into the Pigskin Project YouTube channel. I am Matt Hartman, and today Ben and I talk everything that occurred NFL Week 7, Sunday games only. But before we get into that, I just want to give a quick rest in peace to Doug Martin, the muscle hamster, the former Buccaneers running back, and the Boise State Bronco. He passed away at 36 years old today, and I just wanted to give a little shout out. Condolences to him and his family, but enjoy the video. As you heard in the intro, it is time to talk everything NFL Week 7 recap. And honestly, Ben, I don't think there is a better place to start than Denver with the Denver Broncos, in which, what did you call this fourth quarter?
I called it football bliss. Oh my
Football
gosh.
bliss. I call it chaos because it was 46 points scored in the fourth quarter alone. The Broncos, the first three quarters offense, I mean, they had 0 points, so obviously it was abysmal, but it's somehow even worse. They had a red zone drive that was inside goal to go, and it went. The first play was a 3 yard run to Dobbins. The second play was the fake little the tackle leak play, like the what
hmm
all the teams do, and Bo Nix completely just airmails Garrett Bowles, who runs the route. And then they do a sprint out on third down in which Bo Nix has to throw it away. And then fourth down, they run a screen, not to, Marvin Mims or Troy Franklin. No, to Cortland Sutton, like the one guy who's really good at one-on-one, contested ball ability in the end zone. They ran a wide receiver screen, and that was when I was like, man, I'm tapping out on this game, and kind of put this game on the back burner. And then you watch
Yeah.
Jackson Dart make some plays here and there, and you saw some of the crazy, Scatabo has some runs in this game, and then all of a sudden, you just gotta believe, right? Yeah, you just gotta figure it out in the end, and just the final 5 minutes. What was it? The stat was, I think, from the NFL. There's over 1,600 games, teams who were winning by 18 plus points in the final 6 minutes won the game until today. But what did you see from this one?
Well, it was funny because going into this fourth quarter, I told you, I'm like, I don't know the thoughts that I have on this game. Like, are the Broncos just bad on offense now? Like, is this just what we're going to do? And then Bo Nick said, hold my jock strap. Here's what I can
I
do. Um, it was so much fun to watch him operate. When it mattered the most. If he could operate like that for the rest of the game, the three quarters following, I think we'd really be cooking. But it was a lot of fun. And the Giants, on the flip side of that, continue to be like an impressive team. They only have 2 wins on the season, but they have been such a treat to watch. Given I think they benefited greatly from a phantom DPI, but I mean, you're like, wow, this Jackson Dart kid. I mean, he has ice in his veins, and he's gonna walk down the field, and he's gonna win it for the Giants. Well, then the Giants defense happened, and here we are. But again, it was just such a fun game to watch. I'm just interested to see if this can kind of be the spark that they need to get this offense back on the right track for the rest of the season.
Yeah, it's just I said it to you the way Peyton calls this offense, he calls it like he just doesn't believe in this quarterback. He doesn't
Mm-hmm.
believe in this quarterback being what a traditional drop back passer and making reads downfield. And frankly, his pressure numbers are so bad. I understand why there's a fear there, but like letting him operate in the fourth quarter, he just operated like Jackson Dart. The best way I can describe it, he operated in this mode of chaos that was just so beneficiary to the rest of the offense. and you have the two designed runs that create touchdowns. Like you maneuver him into the run game there, and it's just a very weird football game. That again, like they get the win, they score 33 points, but it's just going to be one of those that you look back on and say, wait a minute, they had a 14% success rate throwing the football for the first like 2.5 quarters. I looked it up during the game. I was so interested. It was that bad. I don't know how. It still finished with like a 37%, so still not great, but it was just it was a football game that happened, and I don't know if there's any takeaway I need to have from it. I'll say the last thing before we move on. Completely wrong on the Dart thing. Dart has like changed. Say this in like college football. Like he's changed the program. He's changed the defense too.
Mm-hmm.
Like watching the defense fly around the football field and fly with some energy. Like Andrew Phillips specifically, just the way they move around the field feels so much different from the first few weeks. I don't know what it is. I don't know if it is like this Jackson Dart effect, if everything needs to be the Jackson Dart effect, but just overall, everything feels just the energy feels really good for the Giants right now, even if they lose this game.
That's well, and I think obviously not quite to, the same extent, but it goes back to like, teams being able to win a game immediately after firing their head coach. It's because it's this energy and this kind of belief that happens when you have this, change of culture and change of leadership. And that's exactly what we're seeing, with Jackson Dart at the Realm, and kind of what I had spoke about last week with it being Jacoby Brissett. It just, it gives you someone to believe about. And when you can believe in the person on the other side of the football, it makes you want to play that much harder. And I really think that's what we're seeing out of this defense outside of this fourth quarter.
Absolutely, absolutely. Let's move on to one of the only other few games that really finished in the final 2 minutes, or needed a game that finished in the final 2 minutes. The Eagles down the Vikings 28-22 in a game where, Ben, they were explosive throwing the football. Did you feel something in your bones watching this one today? Because they immediately have the fourth down conversion early in the game to A.J. Brown. That's a touchdown. They have an 80-yard to Devontae Smith, but not only an 80-yard to Devontae Smith, an under center play action to Devontae Smith. Are you serious? They're finally learning. They're finally figuring this out. The mini buy, or mini buy enthusiasts over here on the Pigskin Project. So tell me what you saw specifically from the Eagles side, because I know that's where your attention was drawn.
Well, no, you said exactly. They're finally finding a little bit of their stride on offense, and they're able to now hit these explosive plays that they weren't able to do earlier in the season. But it's a game like this that, and it's funny because he had a perfect QBR. It's games like this that kind of have me the most frustrated with Jalen Hurts at times, because you're like, you were able to put up this perfect QBR against the number one ranked passing defense in the entire NFL. Where was this a week and a half ago when you played the Giants? But I don't want to loom on that. I mean, he looked great. He had command of the offense. He was getting the ball where it needed to go. And this is the benefit of having A.J. Brown and Devontae Smith and Dallas Goedert. And, Saquon's still trying to get his bearings up, and we're still waiting for that Saquon game, which is another thing in its own right. But this is the benefit of having all of this talent, so you can go out and have this game against the number one pass rated defense in the entire NFL. And I'm a little upset that it took 7 weeks, but I'm glad that we found it. And I'm glad that they can be like, yes, this is who we are. This is who we were last year. We can give these explosive plays when it matters the most. And man, were they able to do it. On the flip side of that, this Vikings offensive line is going to be an issue all season long. I think the Eagles defense only ended up with 2 sacks. It could have been 3. They didn't end up with like this crazy sack total, but it seemed like every single time Carson Wentz was dropping back, he was getting hit and he had some kind of pressure in his face. It's going to be hard for any quarterback to succeed behind that offensive line, whether it's Carson Wentz, whether it's J.J. McCarthy. And it's awesome that you have the weapons like Jordan Addison and Justin Jefferson and T.J. Hawkinson, but it's not going to matter if you can't keep whoever's playing quarterback back there upright long enough to get them the football in the first place. So I don't know if they're a team to watch out to try to make a trade at the trade deadline or whatever the fix is going to be, but they need to try to shore that offensive line up down the stretch of the season if they want to make a push into the playoffs.
Yeah, and I mean, this is always like the fear of when you spend major money. Like this is the bet they made. All right, we're not going to pay Darnold. I know Ryan Kelly is out for a little bit, and Will Fries is coming off an injury into this season. Brian O'Neill is still working himself back, but this is the fear of spending big on the offensive line. Sometimes those guys don't hit. Sometimes those those selections that you make in free agency just don't end up working out. And yeah, I mean that was one of the first things I had is like Wentz only got sacked twice. So like this was one of those games that yeah, he has the pick six, which you could just laugh at. Like I cackled at because it's like I mean, you just don't see him at all and it's 7 points the other way. But just being able to later in this game when they started calling like what was it, cover two man, him just being able to scramble and create that way, it was pretty impressive to me because you don't normally see him operate under that chaos with some actual intelligence in the pocket. Sometimes he'll just scramble around and the head will start spinning and he'll get sacked. But also the Vikings defense overall I think needs to be mentioned here. Just being able to give up those major explosives, give up the play at the end of the game. I talked about like Isaiah Rodgers, like 3rd and 9. The one move that can't hurt you is the double move down the boundary, and he falls for it, man. And also the Vikings lose by 6 in a game where they went one of 6 in the red zone scoring touchdowns. They had one touchdown called back because of a hold. They had the touchdown to Hawkinson overturned, which is like just small margins in the NFL. I continue to preach it every time we do these recap shows. Like those are the little things that between winning and losing in the NFL. But yeah, overall, another big win for the Eagles to keep afloat or to keep ahead of that the NFC East race, and for the Vikings, I mean, it drops them to the bottom of the division, and it drops them even lower in an NFC that just continues to feel very, very loaded. Next, we get into let's get into two of the games of the week we previewed on the preview show going into. Let's talk about the Indianapolis Colts. I said last week I was willing to stake my claim and say this is the best team in football. At least they're playing the most, pure form of football of anybody. If there's no great teams, I think the Colts are the best of the good teams. And again, because this offense and what they are as a well-oiled machine, it continued once again. One punt in this game. They maneuvered the ball down the field in a way that there's just very few negatives, I think is the way that I continue to take away from. They're just so few times they're going backwards and really prohibiting things. Like today, I think there was like one time they went backwards on like a Daniel Jones sack. They ended up turning that 3rd and 17 into like a crazy explosive. So like just this is what they are, I guess. Again, none of us saw the Colts coming, and that's okay. But we could all admit our mistakes and realize that this team isn't going anywhere except like probably the division title and making the playoffs.
Absolutely. I mean, the big key factor that we said going into this game was Jonathan Taylor, and immediately on the first drive, he made his impact felt. And we're like, oh boy, if this is how it's going to be all game, it's going to be a rough game. And that's exactly how it was all game for the Colts versus the Chargers defense. But then also speaking of guys in that offense, Daniel Jones continues to play with so much composure. There was a time in this game, I think it was either right before the half or right after the half, where he had bobbled the snap and he had like fumbled it, and he picked the snap up and it was on third down and he was navigating the pocket and was able to just run and pick up the first down and keep the drive alive. And it is the growth of him alone is something that has to be studied, because he looks like a completely different quarterback than what we had seen for his 5 years or whatever it was down there or up there in New York. And again, if they continue to play, as sound football as they are, they're just going to be a hard team to beat.
It's just such a fun group of receivers. We always make the joke about the basketball room. It's like this team is just every bit of art. Everybody is just a master of one thing, and when you need that one thing, it just works out. It's great. And then you get to the Chargers side. The one thing I really took away from the Chargers, and I think it's obvious, and it doesn't really need to be said out loud, but there is just so much demand on Justin Herbert to be perfect. They're every single drive in this game felt like they were operating under this this bubble where it was the max we could throw downfield is 20 yards because we don't trust the protection. We don't trust the run game because even if I like what Kamani Vidal does here and there, he's not an every down back. Hassan Haskins is a very limited back. So we can't really lean on the run game per se. And so everything is operating in this intermediate, short, close to the line of scrimmage. That's how you result with, Lad McConkey having 9 catches for 67 yards. Keenan Allen having 11 catches. Aronde Gadsden, he had 7 catches for 164 yards. He had a monster day, and he has a 53-yard explosive, which 40 of it comes on Yak. So, everything just feels in a box, and I don't know how they fix it. There's just
getting Joe Alt back.
Yeah,
which he will be back here soon, hopefully within the next game or so. But that's the only hope.
Outside of health, there's nothing I can say here that's well, they should do this, and that. No, they don't have the horses right now, and maybe they figure a way to have the horses. And overall, a rough day for the Jesse Minter defense. But we move on to the other part of the game of the week. We talked about the Dallas Cowboys throttle the Commanders 44-22. Jaden Daniels leaves in this game with a hamstring injury, and anytime I hear hamstring injuries, I just immediately think that guy's probably going to go to IR and miss 4 games. He could, it could be different. This was a game that he had no reason coming back to because just what they were trailing, but overall, we're not going to know anything about that injury for a few weeks, just because those injuries are you got to be ready to go. You got to be fully healthy, or you're going to re-injure that hamstring, re-aggravate. It's just one of those things that I think they're going to have to wait on, and we talked about it on the preview show. Commanders run into a little stretch here that I don't think is fun for them. Lions, Seahawks, just this was a game I think they really wanted to get, and they didn't. And then the Cowboys offense at home, over 120 points scored in 3 games already, 40 plus in all 3 of them. Don't know how many times that's happened, but it can't be a lot. Again, the 2024 Bengals reincarnated with a star on their helmet this year. Dak continued to play great. The Javonte Williams, what doesn't need to be said already, are one of the greatest value signings of the offseason. And the Cowboys get another win.
Yeah. It's not going to matter in the rate. If they can get to the postseason, I think it's going to be obviously a conversation to have. But there's so many people are out there complaining about how bad this defense is, and they're not going to get anywhere with how bad this defense is. Well, it's not going to matter if you're going to be able to put up 40 points a game every single week. I mean, you're going to tie or something here and there, obviously, as you do with the Packers. But if you're putting up 44 points each week, who cares what the defense is doing? Because you can hang your hat on Dak Prescott, CeeDee Lamb, Javonte Williams, and Pickens. And if they're going to continue to fire like this, again, if their defense lets up 35 points, it does not matter if you're scoring 44 points, if you're scoring 40 points, or so on and so forth. But again, come postseason when the games matters, like, i.e. Packers game, it's going to rear its ugly head. But we don't have to talk about it until we have to talk about it. It's kind of the way I'm viewing this defense.
The last thing I want to point out, like, this is the way I want them to win. I want them to be dynamic on offense. I love the way that they are mixing. The first game back for CD, and it feels like they mixed him in well, 74 yards, obviously. But they didn't put too much on his plate. They still do the just one-on-ones, like Dak gives a little wink to George, like, hey, you got one-on-one, run downfield, and I'm gonna give you one. Go and find it. And you get a DPI in this one, and you score they had like a 40-yarder. Like, that helped them before half. But the other thing is, if this defense can just maybe not turn it into a touchdown like Deron Bland did, but just win the turnover battle. Just continue to win the turnover battle. And continue to force some of these short fields for this offense. This is the way I want to see him win. And I think for Cowboys fans, it's similar. Like, this is the way you got to win the game. Create some turnovers, create some splash on defense. It's not going to be a down-to-down defense that you are thrilled about, but if you can create some splash plays, the offense is going to reward you, especially if Dak is standing and the way they're maneuvering so far. The last one we're going to get into before we move on to the entire rest of the slate. Over the pond in London, the Rams throttle the Jaguars, 35-7. Mom always said you got to start with the victors, so I'm going to be quick. The Rams were awesome. They operated. They had like a stat during the game. This was the most 13 personnel, which is 3 tight ends, 1 running back, that they have had more in this game than they had in their entire last 4 years since Stafford got there. Was the stat during the game. So again, this was a one-off. They go into a bye. This is a one-off game plan. How do we scheme around not having Puka Nacua? Well, let's just run a ton of tight ends out there and really attack the nickel defense of the Jaguars, and it worked to perfection. The Jaguars side of the operation, man, there is it's just Lawrence, every time he drops back, feels rushed. He feels like his eyes need to go to the right place every single time. He cannot do it at record time. He doesn't let things develop in real time. I don't like it. And then just the things today specifically, and the drops have been a thing for the entire season, but the penalties. This team, this drop back offense cannot operate behind the sticks from what I saw today, at all. And so for how many penalties they had on early downs to just catapult drives, they had a ton of turnover on downs where they would pass the 40-yard lines and they can't figure it out. They just can't throw their hands up, don't know what to do. And the Brian Thomas Jr., he's got the yips, man. It's just he's.
Mm-hmm.
I think the week 2 thing it really sticks with you, where it's the guy shies away from contact and is really when you put your hands on him and you really make it physical at the catch point, he's just not finishing things. I don't know what it is. I don't know how you figure it out. I don't know how you change it. Similar to the Chargers conversation. I don't know. Throw my hands up I don't have a solution. Play better. Catch the football. But just overall, just everything about this Jaguars drop back offense is just not what I believed it could be. If you put a sound run game, you put a sound play caller, you put a sound enough offensive line, not a great offensive line. I'm not sitting here saying the offensive line is fantastic, top 10, but it is functional. Where the last few years it didn't feel functional. and it's still this miserable on offense. But hey, Travis Hunter had some great garbage time stats. So maybe he's got some confidence. And they also played him exclusively on offense today. So I
Yes.
assume that goes forward. But I am all done with my talking points. Ben, what did you see from this one?
No, I mean, I think you covered it fairly well. I think it's important to not gloss over the Travis Hunter fact. That's the one thing I was going to bring to the table was that, like, hey, yes, it was in garbage time, but like Travis Hunter is finally coming to his own a little bit as a wide receiver. It helps that he's only playing on the offense, and that might be what you get from him this season. You give him time to maybe develop into that two-way player. But if he's going to put up, what was it, like, I think it was targeted 15 times in this game. He had just over 100 yards and a touchdown.
Yeah.
I think you're going to be just fine if he plays just wide receiver this year or just wide receiver going forward, whatever way you want to go about that, because he's kind of rounding into the form that we wanted him to when he got drafted. Given it comes in a game when you're losing 35-0, but they were able to finally mix him into the offense and kind of make him a little bit more of a focal point. And really couldn't have come at a better time with everything happening with Brian Thomas Jr., because it again is really becoming quite the concern now at this point, 7 weeks into the season.
I also don't want to gloss over this. In his first 5 games this season, Trevor Lawrence was sacked a total of 6 times. The last 2 games combined, he has been sacked 14 times, 7 in each of them. So, again, one of the things that I really compliment this player is his ability to, have sack avoidance and still be able to create downfield. The last few weeks, he has really just operated sloppily and not good enough. And then also, Matthew Stafford threw for 5 touchdowns, a London record, over the pond record. So that one was fun. But we're going to take a little short break, and when we come back, we'll hit on all the Sunday games that we have not yet talked about. Time out. Make sure you like, subscribe, comment, do all those things. It really, really helps us out. It helps push out the algorithm to so many different new fans of the channel, but I'll let you get back to the video. And we are back for the NFL, the rest of the NFL Week 7 recap. Where do I want to start? I have the magic finger here to figure out where we start. Let's talk about the Packers. Let's do it. The Packers survive. That's the right word. They survived the Arizona Cardinals. The Jacoby Brissett Arizona Cardinals in 2 weeks have gone at the jugular of the Indianapolis Colts and the Green Bay Packers. That's pretty impressive. The Packers continue to have those just woes of high leverage downs inside the 40-yard line that I don't know, just can't describe it. I want to be able to have an answer, and I just don't. They don't run the ball particularly well. I know Josh Jacobs came into this game with some illness injury. I think like a shin injury was the other report. But overall, a Packers offense that continues to look lackluster. But that defense, when they needed to slam the door shut, specifically Micah Parsons, he did today. And it was really, really impressive on that final drive. I'm pretty sure he finished with 3 sacks today.
3 sacks,
so, finally one of those games where it's like, hey, number one's on our defense, and we have a cheat code.
Yeah, I mean, this is that breakout game that you were hoping for. Not that he's been, like, quiet and awful by any means, but this was the game that you trade for Micah Parsons for him to go out and be able to, again, I think you used the word perfectly, slam the door shut on the Cardinals. That being said, man, I by no means am I out on the Packers, but I am definitely not as high in the Packers as I was going into the season after the last 2 weeks. It's a little concerning to me, given the Bengals have obviously played better. We're not getting into that game here. Um, but man, they should have whooped on the Bengals and they should have whooped on the Cardinals. And the fact that it came to the final 2 minutes for the Packers to win this game is very, very concerning. I'm just interested to see kind of when this offense kicks it into gear. I think you described it perfectly when we were chatting about it earlier. It's just a very stagnant offense at times. Um, I know this is something that we have said for years and years and years now, even dating back to the final couple years with Aaron Rodgers. They just need a number one wide receiver, man. Like this, it hurts. This sucks. They need a number one wide receiver that they can just go to, and if that's Tucker Kraft,
Yeah.
well, you're in a little bit of trouble there. Again, at the end of the day, getting the win is what matters. But I'm just kind of waiting for Golden to take that step forward and play that number one, or first round pick kind of caliber. And he's been a fun gadget guy to watch, but he hasn't really been that dominant number or first round wide receiver that we would have hoped. But again, you win the game, that's what matters.
Yeah, it's just I feel like one of those things with the first 2 weeks specifically. I think I myself and all of us kind of put them on this new trajectory of like unstoppable juggernaut when in reality like Jordan Love's going to have these sporadic moments and you're just going to have these games where it just doesn't look great. I I, I don't want to sound like I'm Mr. like excuses for this team, but it's hard to win. You look around the
Yes.
league and like this team is what one stop away against Dallas and like a not blocked field goal against Cleveland and they're still undefeated. So it's like you don't really apologize for your wins. I think we could all say, "Oh, it needs to be better," and I'll be the first one to say it, especially inside the 40-yard line when they could score. Like in this first half, the first half they got limited possessions,
Mm-hmm.
and I feel like they squandered one of the opportunities to Dobbs down the field, which was an overthrow. And later in the what was it? There was a 3rd and 4 where they just take a sack and it's 3 and out, and Cardinals go on their own drive. So it's yeah, I think the operation needs to look better, but again, beating this team, it's just winning is winning, and I don't think they're going to apologize for winning. Uh, Next, we go to someone who's not going to be apologizing for winning, the Chicago Bears. They're on a 4-game win streak with with Ben Johnson at the helm after starting 0-2. They beat the New Orleans Saints 26-14. Number one with a bullet. This was a unit that I had outright concern for at the start of the season for the first 2 weeks, and the run game. The run game was outright dominant in this one. DeAndre Swift and Kyle Monungai combined for over 200 rush yards in this one. They had multiple explosive runs. Down-to-down efficiency was very, very impressive. I have let me get the stats up right here. I can find the like 45% success rate, 34% first down rate of their runs, which is a pretty good rate. And yeah, just overall for them to be able to lean on their run game, something they have not been able to do throughout the season. But Ben, what did you see in this one?
Man, I don't want to have to do this every week, and I'll stop doing this unless he has like an outright atrocious game. I get so frustrated watching Caleb Williams play football sometimes, and it's a very bipolar experience when watching him because again you continue to see these flashes that he has, and you're like wow, but then he just I just don't know how to describe it.
Someone
I
made
mean,
it in passing in the offseason, and now I can't get over it. Like, you rub your eyes, and it's add 3 inches to Kyler Murray at this point. Like, that's the kind of, like, player I put him into. Like, that's the bucket I put him into. Because there's just so many times where it could be so much better, and the process needs to be so much cleaner. But it's just not. And so, like, But that's the difference. Is Kyler's in what, year 5, year 6, and he's already got the big contract. This is week 6 or game 6 of the Ben Johnson offense. So
Mm-hmm.
yeah, like I think
Yeah.
I think we're both on the same page.
Yes, yes. I'm not writing him off by any means. He's still, but it could be better, is what I'm saying. He's leaving more to be desired. Um, but again, that run offense, as you said, they're finally rounding into form. They're finally playing good. Um, do you do you have anything on the Saints before I talk about the Saints here?
The Spencer Rattler before that 2-minute drive had like 7 yards net on the game, which was pretty incredible. Uh, Olave swung the football game. Like they scored
Yes.
in a span of 6 minutes of game time. He scored the touchdown before the half. He has the big 60-yarder down the field and then scores on the touchdown on the post route. And then out of half, they march down the field and he has a contested catch touchdown on a 3rd down, which I have no doubt Kellen Moore would have kicked the field goal if they didn't get it. So like, yeah, don't come to me with trade talks with Chris Olave. I don't. I don't want to trade this player. I said it last week. I didn't want to trade this player, and this guy has a game that he is worth the $30 million that I think is rumored to be around where that number is for an extension for him. So yeah, this is a player I continue to be high on, and let me keep one of the really good players that the Saints have drafted the last few years.
No, that's exactly what I was gonna say. Like I had said it at the end of last week. I'm gonna say it now. In the span of last week and this week, there are a lot of anonymous sources out there saying that he's going to get traded for a 3rd round pick and Kyle Duggar to the Patriots or all these others. It's just a lot of garbage. You don't trade him away. Again, he's one of like the only bright pieces that you have. Again, the team has been fine. They've been playing smart football, but in terms of like actually something to get excited about, he's one of the only guys there on the offense that you have. You don't just trade him away for a 3rd round pick and Kyle Duggar. Like that just doesn't make any sense. And then kind of the final thing I have on this game, before we move on, what in the world was that Drew Dahlman snapping it to himself? Like let's not gloss over that. Like if you guys have not seen that, I beg you to find it. I'm sure it would be easy to find on social media. He snapped the football to himself. He handed it. He handed it. It was under center. So he went to hand it to Caleb Williams. Caleb Williams, I don't know what happened. Maybe mishandled the snap or something. But the ball ended up like never leaving Drew Dahlman's hands to begin with, and the refs were just like, "Yeah, sure, that happened. That's legal. Let's carry on about our day as if that's something that could happen on an NFL football field." But that was just funny, and I wanted to bring light to that because we don't see that like ever. So
Yeah, I mean, just little tidbits from the game before we move on, because this was one of
mhm.
the games that has my full attention. The Bears being able to continue to be a splash play defense. They have 4 turnovers in this one. It directly affects multiple scoring drives for them in this one. Uh, yeah, I mean that was one of the fears I had going into this game: is are the Saints going to turn the ball over? Are the Bears going to create turnovers? And they did right from like one of the first snaps of the game. Um, Chase Young almost like took over the first drive by himself, or at least did
Yeah,
take over. He almost had like a pick six walk in. He was a factor in the pass rush game all game long. Didn't get like he got 1 half sack, I think, but for the most part, he forced Caleb off his spot multiple times that I was impressed by. And then lastly, why NFL refs? Why are we overturning that? What an awesome 3rd and 20 hook and ladder that we got, and a launched challenged flag from Ben Johnson, and they overturn it and they get the flag call. Just heartbreaking. It looked too close to call to me. I'm sorry. Even if I have black and gold tinted glasses, I thought that play was too cool to overturn. Sometimes the coolness outweighs everything else. Let us have something. But no. Overall, the Saints, another competitive loss, another loss that makes you believe that another quarterback is coming, especially with a 4-turnover day from this one. Nothing to say of Rattler. Like,
Yeah.
two of the interceptions were really, like, the first interception, terrible. Just an awful throw, completely behind Mason Tipton. The second throw, he's trying to launch it downfield to Shaheed. He overthrows it, misses it. The last one was a tipped interception. They're down by multiple scores. Don't really count that one. He's throwing the ball into whatever. But, yeah, that's all for the Saints and Bears. Maybe went a little bit long, but of course that's where my eyes go. Then we get into we'll hit on the Sunday night before we get into all the rest of the action. The Niners win 20-10 over the Atlanta Falcons. The Niners finally have a run game. George Kittle comes back this week. Coincidence? I think not. What they were able to do with him as a puller and the holes he was creating, the effort he was showing, he had 0 catches today. And I think he was one of the more impactful players on the entire offense today. And then the Niners defense, the power of friendship defense that they have. Just everybody chip it in. No Warner, no Bosa, no problem. I don't think they're going to be able to get away with this every single week, but they were able to get away with it against the Atlanta Falcons, Ben. Oh, did I lose Ben? I might have lost Ben. But for the most part, and then again, just hitting on Atlanta for, a quick second. Atlanta feels like stuck in place because you're able to have a performance against Washington and then beat Buffalo, and Bijan's able to run for 200 yards, and then you're able to have a Panthers game where they can't muster up a point. You're able to have a game today against the Niners, against a beaten, battered Niners team, and they just can't score down the stretch. And so overall, like, you get 2 drives in the fourth quarter, and it's just they turn over on down, man. Like, I can continue to have the same belief of, I just think that this team swapped out Kirk Cousins for Kirk Cousins. Back from the technical difficulties, but Ben, what did you see from this Sunday Night Football game?
Yeah, well, one clear one. Christian McCaffrey is good at football. Who would have ever have guessed or have known that? Not me. But in actuality, it is the quarterback play for the Falcons. Again, we have to remind ourselves that, Michael Penix, for all intents and purposes, is playing in his rookie year. He only got 2 or 3 games at the end of last year. But it's the back and forth play of it all. You get the Panthers game where you don't put up a single point, and then you turn around and you look like one hell of a quarterback against the Bills, and then you turn around and you put up this. Again, he's a rookie, but he's basically a rookie, but he's 25, 26 years old. You can't have that. You draft Michael Penix because you think he's going to be ready and he's going to step in and he's going to, change this team, which was a bad thought process to begin with. We've, could spend 2 hours talking about how stupid that was to start, but you can't go back now, and he's playing awful. He's playing the way that you'd expect a 21-year-old rookie who's entering the league, and that's just not who he is. And I'm just interested to see if they can find some stability. You're not going to ask him this year to be the quarterback that we saw in the Bills game, but you need to ask more of him than what you saw in this game? Can we find somewhere in the middle, at least a foundation for you to build off of that we can be excited about, and not this back and forth play? And I don't really think you can set any sort of expectation for this Falcons team until you do get a little bit more stability back there at quarterback.
It's going to be one of the funniest lost seasons if James Pierce has been a pretty good pro and you traded a future first to go and get him. Imagine you're losing like a top 15 first. The player is good you got, but it still is just a lost season. Like that feels like the trajectory they're on. Again, we're at week 7, so there's still just so much ahead of us. But already it feels like the Falcons are behind the 8 ball because I feel like there were expectations or hopeful expectations for them to win the division.
Absolutely.
Let's pound through all of the best of the rest. Whatever we can find in these last few. We get into the Patriots beating the Titans 31-13. It was interim coach Mike McCoy's first game as the Titans head coach. Once again, it is Drake May sets a record with the New England Patriots franchise. You know, the franchise that employed Tom Brady for 2 decades. Yeah, Drake May continues to do something that not even he did. He had a 90-something completion percentage, which is a franchise record. He had some awesome scrambles in this one. I think he finished with over like 60 rush yards all on scrambles in this one. And then hitting on the Titans. The Titans looked explosive for like a quarter and a half. That was fun. And then it kind of stalled out, and Cam Ward has that fumble touchdown where he just loses the football, and it's 7 points the other way. Not great, but hey, like it was an improvement. I'll give him that.
Yes, that was a big, like, it was not a fun football game to watch. It was relegated to red zone only, but you didn't see improvement on the ends. Congratulations, yay, improvement. That's what you're hoping for. But it's buckle up, go to Titans and Saints fan here. Would you rather be a Titans fan right now, or would you rather be a Saints fan right now? Like, honest question, because at least with the Titans, you can say, well, we have our quarterback. You know, we took this dude first overall. I mean, obviously, we'll wait and see what he turns into. But with the Saints, you can say, well, hey, you have a confident head coach. A head coach is probably going to be good. So, like, I'm just interested to see, like, what the public would say if you ask them, would you rather be a Titans or Saints fan right now?
Yeah, both not fun in 2025. I'll say that. That's an easy question to answer, but let's get into somehow, somewhere. Saints and Titans. There is a fan base more miserable. It is the New York Jets, because of course it is. The Panthers beat the Jets 13-6. This was a red zone only game, like you mentioned with the Patriots, which Drake May in my house would never be relegated to just red zone. How dare you, sir? But the Jets, they end up losing Justin Fields. From what I saw in this one, he ends up coming back, and then they bench him. And Tyrod Taylor proceeds after the benching to throw 2 interceptions to J.C. Horn. Impressive stuff. Clap it up for the Jets. Rico Dowdle had another good game on the Panthers side, and so they escape with a win. And you know, Leggett has 9 catches for 92 yards and a touchdown. I blinked and I was like, whoa. But for the most part, and then Andy Dalton came in this game. This is just so much going on with a game that had 19 total points. Before we keep moving on, did you see anything from Panthers Jets that wet your whistle?
No, short and sweet to the point. Absolutely not. It's the exact game that you would picture, like, in your head when you think the Panthers and Jets playing each other. Um, it just it was ugly football. It was just really, really, really ugly football. It's getting to the point that like I don't know if Aaron Glenn makes it through the season, let alone gets another year at this point. I mean, you brought him in knowing that like he wasn't going to be like this offensive mastermind. The defense is looking all right, but it's getting to the point where it's just so bad that you're like, can you even justify keeping him around and letting him take Fernando Mendoza first overall? You know?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, that is a valid question. But we'll go to we'll go to this one. The Chiefs beat the Raiders 31-30. The Kansas City Chiefs today had more points than the Raiders had offensive plays. Just think about that. Just think about it for a second. The Chiefs had more, and they Gardner Minshew was playing in the football game, handing off to Rashard Smith in the entire fourth quarter, and the Chiefs finished with more points than the Raiders had offensive snaps. Incredible. You talk about Aaron Glenn not surviving the season. I'm at the point where I'm saying that for Pete Carroll as well. Because I think the entire point of this is Pete Carroll's going to come in and he's going to establish a competitive and winning environment that Antonio Pierce couldn't. Antonio Pierce at least had this team ready to play the Chiefs, like ready to go. You think about the Raiders beating the Chiefs on Christmas a few years ago. You think about the Raiders challenging the Chiefs on, I believe, wasn't it Black Friday last year or around that time, where they took them to the brink. And now you have a game in this environment where theoretically we get better at quarterback, theoretically we get better at skill position with Ash and Genty in there, and the offense is reverting, literally reverting. This is also telling me Chip Kelly has no there is just no world where he should be an offensive play caller in the NFL. It's just
No.
not going to happen. I the stink of this from a mile away. I had it with the way the Ryan Grubb situation went in Seattle last year, but this tears it. This is it. But just overall, I don't need to spend any time on the Chiefs. We know what the Chiefs are. They're incredible. Rashee Rice was back. He's incredible. But just to see no resistance from the Raiders, where in the past the Raiders had resistance in this game, is an incredibly alarm bell for me.
Yeah, it absolutely is. And I think them putting, Kenny Pickett in, them benching Geno Smith at a certain point in this game and saying, Kenny Pickett, let's see what you got, in his first snap being a fumble. Like, it's just very indicative.
I didn't even see that.
Yeah, they put him in, and his very first snap was a fumble that he lost to the Chiefs that put him on the 11-yard line. Like, I just think that is indicative to what the Raiders are at this point in the season. Like, it's just like fumble, fart, throw up. Like, that's just that's what it is watching the Raiders. And like, I could have told you, you could have told me that, like, hey, Chip Kelly's doesn't belong in the NFL. Not that we haven't seen enough of that already to prove that. And the fact that they were like, oh, let's give him a shot anyways, was just mind-boggling to me, and it continues to turn out the exact way that I would have expected it to. It's ugly. It's awful. Again, they just fumble, fart, and fall down.
Yeah, I mean, it's the got to establish the culture. These are culture setting like moves that we're making. It's just like what culture is coming from this? What culture is coming from this like game? It's like I said, it's reverting because the culture builder before had you up for these games at least, and now you're not up for them. It's just I also want to make note the Chiefs had 3 drives in the first half, 9 plays, 92 yards for a touchdown, 17 plays, 84 yards for a touchdown, and then 16 plays, 94 yards for a touchdown. Just insane. That's ridiculous, but they did it. And then before we get out of here, we got to talk about the game of the week. The Browns 31, the Dolphins 6. This was a game going into it, 40-mile-per-hour winds. It was yucky, wet, and rainy. How would the boys from Hawaii perform? And ironically enough, the third-round pick drafted this year was 10 times better than the established second contract player in Tua Tagovailoa today. Yeah, this was a game that happened. I don't think I need to spend any more time on Miami. I think we're all at the point with Miami that this has run its course. They need a full reset. They need to drop an atomic bomb on this and figure it out. See who's good and go from there. I think you should do that as soon as possible because I don't want you to see this regime make any more mistakes. Like maybe they make a move at the deadline. Maybe they trade something at the deadline. I don't know. But we're at the point that this is just code red situation in Miami that I don't think it could go on any longer. And yeah, I don't want to see it go on any longer.
That's exactly what we said going into the season. Again, I don't know what the expectations were for the Dolphins. Everyone knew it. This was the writing that was on the wall headed into the season. But again, I understand that you just blow everything up, but what's the plan there? Do you just outright cut Tua? Because I doubt anyone's going to trade. Hey, the Falcons might trade for him, but it's just a mess of a situation. But the Browns, their defense, Jim Schwartz. Getting them up to play this morning. It was great. They were able to get pressure.
The Browns at home, man. The Browns at home.
Quinshot Judkins gallivanting into the end zone. Absolutely gallivanting. I have the people know that is the perfect word to use there. But I don't know how much of this you could be like, hey, good job, Browns. A lot of it was just awful from the Dolphins. There's not a whole lot of takeaways from either. The one takeaway is blow it up in Miami, but for the Browns, you can't even be like, great job. I mean, you can because the defense looked good and you were able to get pressure, but you can't have a whole lot of takeaways when the quarterback on the other side has 3 takeaways or is giving up 3 takeaways. It's just. This game happened. I think was the perfect way that it happened. Here we are.
I never like doing this for a player, but you take away Quinshon Judkins' best run when he had the 46-yard touchdown run. He finished with 24 carries for less than 40 yards if you take away that one play. He finished with a 23% rushing success rate, which is just abysmal. So
yeah.
I don't want this to be the Browns did great things on offense. No, they didn't. The Dolphins just gave them the game, and somehow this is the result that's spit out. I guess. Tyson Campbell had a tip pick 6, so that was cool. But for the most part, this one was relegated to the second half. But we have to close it out with one thing and one thing only. Quinn Ewers played football today. Quinn Ewers.
He did do that.
Played football today. And he passed. So this was the first game that they had him actually active because he was the healthy and active emergency quarterback. Mm-hmm. They had a feeling today. They had a feeling
today's gonna be the day.
This could go wrong today, and we're gonna have to get somebody in there, aren't we? And they got Ewers in there, and 5 for 8, 53 yards. Took 2 sacks though. Took 2 sacks, not great. But that is gonna be all for the recap show. So if you stuck around to listen to all our Sunday night recap shows. That is very, very helpful to us. Make sure you like and subscribe every Wednesday. live 9:30 Eastern, 8:30 Central for our NFL preview show. And then if you like college football, early Wednesday mornings or when College Corner are going to drop. And with let's sneak a little college football in here. Ben, how are you going to feel when Lane Kiffin is the head coach of Florida in 3 months?
I'm gonna get sick. Like that would genuinely make me sick because I love Lane Kiffin so much and I want to see him be a Gator. Um, it's awful. It just really quickly. Again, we can't bring up Florida without talking about disaster that happened all the way out there in California. Um, it just like I had asked you, like, why? What is the point of keeping Norvell in the like at this point? Because you can't justify the buyout because Penn State just bought out James Franklin for more money than what you would buy out Norvell.
They don't
for.
have the money.
So
That's it.
I don't care. This is awful. You can't go and lose to freaking Stanford. I know that Thomas Castellanos like died like with 2 minutes left in the fourth quarter. Like he died on the football field. But like you just can't. You can't lose to Stanford. Like it's unacceptable. But again, I want to hear more. I'm sure we will get into it more.
Yeah.
You guys will hear it on Wednesday morning.
Yeah, Napier. I know it's Florida, and I know it's a big job, and it might be a bigger job than Penn State. Napier getting fired does not justify an emergency like let's talk about it like James Franklin does. I just don't think it does. He told us last night, like when he said, "I'm gonna enjoy this one." He knew what today was. But great dude. I hearing stories about Billy Napier today from people online, like that's a great dude, and it sucks, but he was not a good enough football coach to win the SEC. Mm-hmm. And maybe they'll figure it out. No. I do think they're going to push really, really hard for Lane. I don't know if they get him because Lane at this stage in his life feels made for Ole Miss. But we'll find out together, aren't we? Everybody is just... What if?
Just saying.
That would be something.
Ugh,
but
be fun.
That is all for the recap show. Thank you so much. Socials are in the description. Appreciate it, and see you in the next one.